there will be similar opportunities, similar inspiration and incentives for all the countries of the world to move towards using renewable energy on a much larger scale than we could have ever imagined. And all of this is going to happen in the next 10 to 15 years. Why? Simply because we have clearly brought out in the IPCC fourth assessment report that if we want to stabilize temperature increase to about 2 degrees Celsius, 2 to 2.4 degrees Celsius, then global emissions in the aggregate must peak no later than 2015. And that brings about an urgency of the task that I think business and industry would do extremely well to evaluate, to analyze, and to act on as rapidly as possible. There's very little time to lose, and there are enormous opportunities waiting over there, which should really compel us to move as quickly as possible. I also believe that the cost of taking these actions is substantially lower than anyone would have expected. You have many real-life examples, this country being one, Germany another, where a proactive set of policies to use renewable energy on a large scale have not resulted in any kind of economic downturn, any kind of economic burden. As a matter of fact, it's a clear testimonial to the fact that we can grow and de-link growth with higher and higher energy consumption if only we exercise our imagination as Germany, Denmark, and to a great extent Japan have been able to do. So in my view, this is really a moment of opportunity. If we were to understand the great opportunity that this provides and the enormous attraction of taking action in this area, we would certainly be able to make a success of every venture that we take in hand right now. But to bring this about, may I say that it's going to be very important not only to think of this as a technological fix, but as a new way of bringing about decision making in every sector of the economy and on the part of every stakeholder in society. And therefore, what I would suggest is that we have to start a new process of dialogue between government, business, and civil society. Because, as Dr. Chu mentioned rightly, if we have to invest in the development of new technologies that are not even around the corner, then you necessarily need a great deal of commitment on the part of government. Some of the technologies that he described will really not take off unless you have the kinds of university hubs that he mentioned, unless government is prepared to put in the resources whereby an idea which at this point of time is really nothing more than a concept can be pursued and converted into scientific discovery and a commercially viable technology. So I think government has to provide the incentives, government has to set a price on carbon, it must provide funding by which research and development of the highest order at the most sophisticated levels of science can take place, and then industry joins hand to ensure that this can be carried further to commercialization. So I think that's really what we require, and civil society would have to also play its part in preparing the consumer, in guiding the consumer to express his or her preferences, whereby business and industry will react not only on the basis of government regulations, but on the basis of what every consumer demands. And this is where I want to end by saying that I believe that you cannot rely purely on the nation state to solve this gigantic problem of climate change, where governments, business and industry certainly have a unique opportunity and a unique responsibility. But all of this will only materialize if we have large-scale grassroots actions. And the time has come when I think people have to take the initiative into their own hands, and they have to pass on the message to decision makers among all the stakeholders in society, whereby they start taking decisions that would provide the incentives that would provide the motivation and the inspiration for moving in the right direction. So if there was ever a moment when you needed people, consumers, and grassroots movements to take the initiative in their own hands, that moment is now, and I hope that will happen. Thank you very much.